This video, I'm so glad I found it. It sort of encapsulates kind of what I was speaking of earlier, that there's something inside of us that wants something more, something good. And what we're going to focus on today, that comes out when we're creative. And I don't just mean, when you think of the word creative, you think of people who are artsy. That's part of it, but I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about creating things, or creating a reality, creating a world, creating things for our lives and for our other people. Being productive, being someone who adds to the world instead of takes away from the world, if that makes sense. And so I think about history. Who here is interested in history? Yeah, I know Sarah. Sarah has she went to school for history. She has a degree in history. But yes, it's very interesting. I'm interested in history. And it's actually really fascinating to know, because people have written down at least their version of history, or we find, or people who are alive have memories of the past, or we find artifacts, or whatever it might be. We have a way to understand what happened before. But the sad thing is, if you know history, you know all too well that war is a major part of history. It's almost as if I don't think there's ever a time where there hasn't been some kind of war, right? And sadly, that's still a reality today. There's the war in Syria going on right now, right? And there's all kinds of death and destruction happening in so many places in the world. But I think about war, and I think about what causes people to go to war. Well, it's a desire, and it's an unchecked desire. It's a desire for power that's gone unchecked, right? You want power. You want property. You want land. You want resources. And you're going to take those things by force, right? That's war in a nutshell. That people, usually one mad person or one perhaps evil person, I guess, with a bunch of people who are with him and support him and go along with the idea. That we're going to take things, even though you could try to negotiate with people, you could offer something and get something back in return. That's called the marketplace. That's called peacefully interacting to get those things like land and power, or not necessarily power, but resources and so on. But people think, I'm going to take it by force, right? And this is the interesting thing. What results, in order to get these resources, is you have to then try to take it from those people, right? And obviously those people aren't just going to let you do it. They're going to try to defend themselves and defend their property and their land. So guess what? Conflict happens and death and destruction occurs because it just keeps on escalating. We saw how terrible it can be in this past century, right? With the atomic bomb and all those sort of things. Just unimaginable death and destruction as a result of this sort of conflict. But have you ever, so to me, that's chaos. Utter chaos. And anybody who has either been to war or knows somebody who's been to war knows just how chaotic and how much of a hell it is, right? But have you ever noticed that when the two sides are going at it, that suddenly all this organizational power comes to fruition? All this order. People come together for the cause, right? You probably seen these types of images before. That especially not even just the military forces, right? They get organized. A lot of brain power, a lot of resources go into fighting the wars. But even the people back home, suddenly there's something for them all to grasp onto, and they come together and they produce. Have you ever noticed that? That it doesn't matter who you are. It's as if suddenly the things that divided us aren't as important anymore. So we come together and we make something out of ourselves to support the war. And that's what happens when war happens, right? And I looked it up, and I don't know to what degree this is exactly right, but things like canned food. Think about these things that we all use every single day. Canned food, plastic surgery, sanitary napkins, duct tape, microwave ovens, digital photography, and the internet are all a result of technology that was developed for war. Did you guys know that? All of those things is a result of technology that was developed to kill people, to harm people, to take land and take resources, right? I want to put it, and you know what? And I'm sorry to even put these images on the screen, but politicians love war. Do you know why? It's because, like I just sort of alluded to, when it comes to wartime, the economy starts to boom, right? There's a sense that unemployment goes down, the economy experiences a kind of boom. So politicians love war. And it doesn't matter whether you're on the left or on the right. I should have put her on the left and then him on the right. Right? They're both for war. They're all for war, right? Most politicians are for war. And I think that they are misguided, right? If any of you are interested in economics, you might know this principle. It's called the broken window fallacy. Because people like to think that when we're at war and when we're, while people are off doing all kinds of destruction, we're being productive, right? And so they look at the productivity and they say, that's a good thing, right? Like war causes things to get better. Not for the people we're killing, but for us, right? Except I want us to think about this. And the whole idea of the broken window fallacy is if you were to break a window of a person's store, let's say, you go up to a person's store, you break their window. Well, you just made a job for the window repair person, right? But that's a fallacy. It's misguided. Why? Because if it is possible in the face of destruction to have productivity, how much more so without destruction would we have productivity? I hope this makes sense. That yes, when we are at war or when things get destroyed, productivity comes out of that because we have to rebuild. We have to help that situation. But that's wasting our time, right? That's a waste of time. It's a waste of resources. It's just to get back to where we were. That window was already fine, right? That person, that store owner, could have taken the money that he used to repair that window and maybe expanded his business and maybe created something brand new. Or who knows what, right? That's the point. We don't know what people will do if we're not having to be preoccupied with the chaos. If we are preoccupied with order, with life, with goodness, we don't know the limits of what we can do because God has placed within us that desire to create. And I think about people who have not been interested in war, but produce things for the sake of creation, of being creative and bringing new things to the world. And these are just two people that I look up to. Not as people. I've read their books. But that's Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple Computer. And he was the guy behind the iPhone, iPad, the iMac, all that stuff, right? And the guy on the other side is Elon Musk. He's the guy who created the Tesla car and all these different inventions that comes out of his company. And they're doing things to bring humanity forward, and I think it's a wonderful thing. They're taking that creative force. They might not give God glory for it, but they're certainly using the creative force that God has given them to make new and brand new things. So we think about that. We think about how there's chaos, how there's order. Those forces are real in the world. And we think about, again, as today is the last message in this sermon series of Living Free. I know that Debbie and Joanne are going to sort of piggyback off of everything I've been saying these past few weeks over the next couple weeks. But today is the last message, and I really wanted to bring it back again to this creation story. In the beginning, God created. I think that's incredible that that's the very first verse of the Bible. God is the creator. God is the one who produces. He doesn't destroy, he makes. He makes something out of the chaos, actually. And what did he create? Well, lots of things, but we know God created human beings in his own image. We are a creation of God. And I'm not making a scientific claim there. I'm making a truth claim as it relates to who we are and where we came from originally, right? That God is our creator. It is the creative force that is God himself that brought us to life. And again, I know maybe I've been harping on chaos and order these past few weeks, right? I've been talking a lot about it, but it's fascinating because it's true. Within the world, there is chaos and people who are causing chaos and making more chaos. And then there's people who are causing order, who are bringing goodness. As I just said, there are people who are making brand new inventions that have made our lives better, right? So that is out there. But what about in here? There's chaos in here. I'm sure we've read this before. Romans chapter 7, Paul said this: I want to do what is good, but I don't. I don't want to do what is wrong, but I do it anyway. Can anybody identify with that? I've had that struggle, right? I want to do what's right. I know what's right. I know what's good. I know what is going to help me be better as a person and be productive and healthier. And yet I do the thing that goes against that, right? It's counter to that. So what are we to do? Like, this is just a reality of the chaos and the order inside of us, right? What are we to do? Well, the Bible's answer is that we cry out to Jesus. And we cry out to him because in him is the one in whom God fully dwells, the Bible says, right? And if God is the creative force of the universe, so to speak, and God is in Jesus, then we need to look to Jesus to have the answer, the solution to that conflict between order and chaos and order, right? And so what are we to do, right? As we keep our eyes focused on Jesus, he is our aim, right? Has anybody ever done any sort of target practice of any kind? What do you have to do? You have to aim, right? And try to focus in on that bullseye or that goal, right? Same thing with Jesus. You know, we can look this way, we can look that way, and there's plenty of things to get our attention, right? But if we keep on looking at Jesus, and that is, if we keep on pursuing him, who he was and who he is, both in the past and in our lives now, and in the world now, and who he will be as well. If we focus on that, we have an aim to work towards, to take steps towards, right? And to bring it into what I'm talking about today, how can we be like Jesus? We can be like Jesus by being a force for creativity, for production, for goodness and order. I think this, and it's what we've been talking about, that we have been freed from our past, the parts of our past that drag us down and enslave us, guilt and shame, right? We've been talking about this, about how God sets us free, and we can be free from our guilt and shame. We can be free from our addictions. And God creates us again. He renews our hearts and he makes us brand new in a sense, right? He gives us a fresh start with our mind, a fresh mind, so that we can grow in him, grow in virtue, grow in love, as we talked about last week. And lastly today, grow in being creative, in being a person who produces, who does something, who doesn't make the world a worse place, but makes the world a better place, makes our lives a better place, right? Can I just see if you're with me? You want to make this world a little better place? Is everyone into that? Can I see hands? We want to make our lives better, our families better, our job situations better, our world better, right? Our communities better. Tomorrow we have a choice to see if we can make our world a little better. I'll leave it at that, right? The point is that we have a choice before us. And if you don't know what you're supposed to do in life, if you don't know how to be a person who creates rather than destroys, that's okay. Because humility, saying I don't know what to do, is better than assuming you do and going off and doing something dumb, right? So I would encourage all of us here to start with that fresh slate, that clean slate of just, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm going to try to find what it is I'm to do to bring more goodness and order to this world. I didn't count them actually, it's probably about 5 or 6 different things I want to put on the screen right now. These are just tips. And look, we could spend an entire sermon on each of these, but I just want to throw them at you. I want you to know that there are ways that you can find what it is that will bring you fulfillment, that will enable you to be creative, and be productive. And the first one's simple, in concept at least. Pursue that which brings you meaning, right? Look, we all do things we don't want to do, and sometimes we have to do those things because that's life, right? But for the most part, why not pursue that which brings you something special inside, right? It sort of gets you going inside, brings you meaning. I want each of us to think about what it is that you love, what it is that you enjoy doing, and pursue that with your life, right? Find meaning. And a part of that, and I want to say, for example, I'm sorry, I did not ask you, I just thought of it now. I bet you're going to be okay with this though. The next one is challenge yourself, okay? Sarah knits, is it knitting?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Sarah knits. I don't know if you saw her, if you're on Facebook, you saw that she posted. What's the stats there? How many hours and how many?
8 months.
8 months.
And 55,000 stitches.
So 8 months and 55,000 stitches. She created this awesome scarf, Lord of the Rings scarf for her friend who's a big Lord of the Rings fan. It took her that long. We're busy all day, but when we finally get to settle down at night after Timothy's in bed, that's what she did over these past 8 months, right? And she produced it, but guess what? That was a challenge. She did something that was meaningful, but she didn't just leave it at the things that you know you already can do. You challenge yourself. And why is that? Because then that opens up a whole new world for you. Right? When you challenge yourself with something that, yes, is scary because it's a challenge, but then you pursue it and you do it, you will then find that either you have a new skill that you didn't know you had, or you have something that you didn't have before because you created something, you produced something, right? And along those lines, the third one here is don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try to pursue meaning and purpose and to challenge yourself. I think this is a quote from somewhere, so I'll just say it as I have it here. Don't let what you are stop you being from what you could be. So we each are something right now. We have a certain set of skills, a certain way of doing things. Don't let that stop you from trying to be something what you could be, from growing, right? Don't be afraid of challenging yourself or moving forward. And look at this. Aim high. Again, I already alluded to this. We're aiming at Jesus, right? We're aiming at perfection, really. Human perfection. What God wants us to be, right? Aim high. Don't aim low. Don't try to do something that you know is easy. Do something that you know is hard. Again, these are all related, right? What would make life worth living? Aim for that, right? If you're dissatisfied with your life right now, well, think about what would satisfy me, right? And aim your life towards that with God's help. Next is go all in. What does that mean? What does it mean to go all in? Put your entire self. Do everything you can to put yourself in, to pursue your goals, to pursue the meaning that we're talking about here. To be creative and productive. Don't just do it half-hearted. Do it with all of your heart and soul and strength, right? Put your whole self into something. And along those lines, be disciplined. Guess what? It's not going to happen by itself. Whatever it is that you're trying to pursue is not going to come haphazardly or just, if you are just pursuing it and it just happens, right? You have to be intentional about it. You have to be disciplined. You have to get up every day and work towards it. This is what I'm trying to learn myself. I would like to be somebody who produces books. Let's just be honest. I want to write books. I want to write. But that's never going to happen unless I write each day, right? And I'm disciplined with it. That's just my personal example. Whatever it is in your life that you're pursuing is important for you to be disciplined. But this is also important. Take a break every once in a while. Take a break. It's the Sabbath principle, right? God created for 6 days and then he took a break. He wasn't tired, but it is a model for us to say, look, creativity is good. It's what we should be doing for most of our lives, most days of the week. But then on that seventh day, we stop and we cease, right? So take that principle and apply it to your life, whether it's in terms of a full day Sabbath, or what if it's just proper vacations every so often. We haven't even announced it at church yet. We're going to be at church next Sunday, and we're going to lead the worship, and Debbie will be preaching. But then the next day, we're going on vacation because it's been a few months and we need it, right? But get this, taking a break is a good thing. You might think, oh, but I'm not working. Exactly. You're actually helping yourself be recharged and renewed so that you can get back to being creative, get back to work, right? It's important. It's a part of being productive and creative. And lastly, I don't know if you can see it down there, but it's learn from failure. Failure is not bad. Failure is good because you can learn from it and do better and try a different way, hopefully the right way next time, right? Okay, so I know that's a lot, right? So you maybe write this down or maybe find the video this week and go through it again, because these are all helpful things that will help us be productive and creative and to move forward in that way, to be free to create. But still, what should we create? What is it that we should do? I got two things. And I'm not getting into specifics because each of you can think about your own lives, right? I would say, number one, create good people. God said to be fruitful and to multiply, right? He meant procreate, right? He meant produce people, have babies. And God is our creator, and He made us so that we can create. I think that's a wonderful thing, right? God is the creator. He created us, and He gave us the ability to create new people. I think that's absolutely wonderful. And I think about our journey of getting pregnant, and the pregnancy and the delivery, and that was a challenge. That was tough, right? Sarah's like, mm-hmm. It's tough bringing a new life into the world. It's a challenge. But you know what? I think we talked about this before. That, you know what kept me going, at least? I think it was similar for Sarah as well. Is that I thought to myself, literally billions of people have done this already. Billions of people have brought babies into the world. I think we can do it. That's what kept me going throughout the challenging times, right? So get this. It doesn't take a special person to bring a new life into the world. Lots of people have done it. What is a lot more rare, is bringing good people into the world, right? I think that this is perhaps one of the most important things that we can each do. And get this is not simply a biological thing, right? Now, I do believe in the incredible role that biological parents, or just parents in general, have for their children. I think that's like to be engaged and to be peaceful towards your child, to give everything of yourself to your child and to help them to grow and to become a good person. That's so important, and that's what we're devoting our lives to. And I'm so eager as Timothy grows, right? But get this. You don't have to be a biological parent in order to create good people in the world, right? Each of us has a role to play in mentoring people, in helping, especially young people, grow up to become good people, right? Children's ministry here at our church, we talked about this yesterday. Children's ministry here at our church is not just some separate thing that we do. We don't, have the kids go downstairs so that we can just get them out of our hair. No, our kids are learning how to become godly and good people, right? That's our goal, at least. And that's why we want to make it a real focus, especially over these next few months, as we want to make that a major focus of our church. It's because that is what we can be creating in this world. Create good people. Again, parents, but also any of us, to mentor people, inspire people, help people, especially the young people. So not only create good people, right? But just create goodness in the world. And again, I know that's kind of vague, but I just want you to think about whatever it is that is good that you can do, that you can actually produce in this world. Every single day we have a choice to make. Just like God each day made new things in the creation story, right? He created new things every single day. We each have a choice when we wake up in the morning. Will we create something today, or will we stay the same, or worse? Will we make things worse, right? So I just give this call to you. Take on some kind of responsibility each day. Look around you. Look, get this. There is really no excuse, because all of us can look around us and say, oh, that's not the way it should be. I can take on that responsibility and bring a little order to the world, a little goodness to the world. Oh, that person's feeling down. I can go and encourage them, right? Each one of us can bring each day a little more goodness and order into this world. We can create goodness by making that choice. So again, look around us, see what needs us, or see what needs something, some kind of solution, and be the force for good in order to be that solution. And I promise you, you will feel better as a result. Sarah, come on up. We're going to sing Take My Life. Again, this is the conclusion. This is the conclusion of this series of living free. That we can be free from that which entangles us. We know how much the accuser, how much the devil speaks to our mind and says, you're not worthy, you've done too many bad things, or you failed again, you're no good, right? But God loves us. He's freed us in Jesus to have a fresh start. No matter who you are, all of us here, and all of our friends and family have this potential as well to start again, to be reborn, if you will, and to pursue purpose, pursue meaning, to keep our eyes fixed on Jesus. So this song, it's a bit of an older song, but we're going to sing this. It's pursuing holiness, pursuing faithfulness, right? And righteousness. These are just, fancy Christian words. That means we're going to pursue that which is good. That which brings us closer to God. That which brings us closer to being who we can be in Him, right? So let's sing this song, Take My Life.